The Wizard of Oz contains so many secrets, it's a little mind-boggling. But there's one thing in particular that I wanted to point out today. The first thing is, notice that there's 4 main characters. I'm not the first person to say this, but it's really interesting when you note that the 4 main characters have an elemental correspondence. So let's take the Scarecrow as an example. He's a scarecrow. He scares crows away. Crows, obviously, and birds are air symbols. He also wants a brain, which represents our ability to think. It's symbolic of the mind, which is very much related to the element of air and the swords within the tarot. And then we have the Tin Man. The Tin Man is symbolic of water, so he wants a heart, which means that he wants to be able to feel again, so this is an emotional concern. And when you're dealing with the emotions in the tarot, you're dealing with the correspondence of cups. So everything that's part of Tin Man's story has to do with water and the emotions and the heart. And then you have Dorothy. Dorothy is symbolic of Earth. We typically call Earth Mother Earth, and she is the mother of Toto. Even in the Thoth deck, the princess is related to the element of Earth. So everything having to do with her story is actually very earthy and related to this concept of home and returning to home. And then you have the Cowardly Lion. Immediately you should think of Leo, which is ruled by the sun and corresponds with fire. And of course, he wants his courage back, which is symbolic of the will, or the wands, within the tarot. But for Cancer season specifically, I wanted to focus on the Tin Man. Here you can see Dorothy with an oil can, trying to make the Tin Man limber again. The reason why he's rusted up and stiff is because he was outside during the rain, so that's the water element coming through again. He also has a hard exterior, which is his shell, just like the crab and the other creatures that have been associated with Cancer. And while he's made of tin, which is often linked with Jupiter, who happens to be exalted in Cancer by the way, he comes across as silvery, which reminds me of lunar symbolism and everything related to the moon. I think it's interesting that the moon obviously has a correspondence with all things related to water and the ocean. Here's the heart that he receives from the wizard. I love the fact that there's actually a clock within the heart. Not only are clocks keepers of time, but they also relate to rhythm and cycles, not unlike the wheel and themes associated with the Chariot card. And notice that in the Thoth deck, the Charioteer has armor. This is symbolic of the shell of the crab and is very similar to the Tin Man himself. It's interesting, when you're dealing with Cancer and the crab, you're also dealing with the claw. And funny enough, the claw has been related symbolically to the saw, in that the saw and claw, which even phonetically they sound similar, are known for cutting and breaking things down. And even the ridges of the claw kind of remind me of the teeth of a saw. A lot of crabs have a sawtooth exterior or shell as well. But the fact is, the Tin Man is also a woodsman or woodcutter, and he carries an axe with him. And I just think it's really interesting that there's this woodworking connection between Cancer and the Tin Man. Lastly, I think the word Cancer is interesting. Its root is literally the word can, and in many ways, the Tin Man represents an empty vessel, making him a symbolic tin can, which he clearly resembles as well. Alright, so that's gonna do it. As always, I'd love to know what you think. Thanks.